Liz, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
How's Hawaii?
It's Hawaii, nothing to complain about.
Take me through preparation for this one. How was camp, all that stuff?
So this camp was similar to my rematch with Velasquez. My head coach moved out to Virginia Beach, and so I decided to be the annoying baby sister. I said I was going to stalk him and follow him everywhere he goes. So now I drive cross country to do my fight camps with him, spend 2 of the 3 months of the fight camp there, and then travel wherever the fight is. And then I go visit my mom for a few days and then do another cross country trip back home. So that being said, it's a lot in the sense that taking out so many days to go do that cross-country drive twice, you're guaranteed to do it. I'm away from my family, from my wife, from my son, but because of that, I'm able to focus 100% only on the fight. There's no okay, I have to pick my son up for school, I have to figure out how to do this. All I do is just give all my energy, all my time, all my focus to fighting, and I feel like that paid off in the Velasquez fight, and so I know it's going to pay off in this one because I can just focus on being my best version.
How many days does it take to do that? I mean, or how many days does it take you to do it, or do you allow for it, I guess?
I give myself about a week. So far, it's only been 4 days. I stop. I train at the hotel gyms in the morning for about an hour, and then I stop along the way and train for a few more hours, and then again in the evening.
So it's kind of nomadic, right? I mean, is there something that's therapeutic about that? And I guess also, dashboard time is what I call it. Like, you're stuck in the car for that long. I mean, where do you get sort of your mental therapy and find benefits from that compared to, so many times I'm assuming that you didn't do anything like that?
Yeah, it's something my wife and I have talked about for years. Just, guilt on both of our sides that I can't give the attention to them that I need. She doesn't want to take from my fight camp and understands when I'm there. It's just natural for her to lean on me. But we didn't have a place to go. I have a head coach, and I've really entrusted the success of all my wins in Bellator to being with him full time. So the last thing I want to do is leave that and take away from that. But this allowed me to do that. And I think any parent can attest to drive time isn't usually fun. You're listening to kid music, or you have to censor out the music that you're listening to, or they want to listen to some kid podcast. So your radio time, your car time is no longer yours. Or it's questions like, when are we going to be there? I need to go potty. So I get 4 days of my time. It's great.
Your time, your music. So what is your music when you're doing 4 days in the car?
It was actually a lot of audiobooks. I'll listen to podcasts and audiobooks. I think I went through a book about every 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Talk about this rematch. I mean, you've got to win over her already. Where do you figure she's looking back on the first one and saying, all right, this is what my downfall was, and what do you think maybe she's going to have tried to improve on from the first one?
I think her best representation of herself is when she faced me the first time. And in that fight, she wasn't able to do what she needed to. I think that she wants to come out stronger than she did and hope to pressure me and keep the foot on the gas, especially because I don't think she has a gas tank for 5 rounds. So in her mind, I'm sure if she can come out early, she can come out fast, she can come out strong, she can hopefully go for a finish. But I prepare for that. I prepare to go 10 rounds, you name it. So there's not a circumstance I see where she's able to done enough growth in our previous fight to prepare for this one.
When she was in here earlier, she's a trip, right? She called herself batshit crazy. So is there something about when you're fighting somebody that's, she's not a loose, I don't know, is she a loose cannon? She's fun, she has fun, she called herself weird, batshit crazy. That's probably different than some of your recent past opponents. So is there a way that you keep from having to focus on things like that and make sure that that kind of goofiness or playfulness on her part doesn't get in your head and screw up what you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, the personality of the person I'm facing really doesn't play into the factors of what I'm doing. I'm focused on what I need to implement, what I need to do, whether they're aggressive, whether they're silent, they're goofy, they're crazy. I faced it all different throughout my career, and if anything, the people who want to get in my face just makes it worse for them. People that cause more drama, stir things up, even if that's crazy and it's goofy, the more that they bring more attention to themselves, the more that it makes me want to pull out every trigger that I have.
Let's talk about the landscape in your division. You fight Friday, your pal fights Saturday, okay? She talked to us about it yesterday. What she wants, and I'm sure you two have talked about it, she wants you to win Friday night, she'll win Saturday night, she's gonna call for the title fight. She wants to come back here and do it here. she would love to win the title and retire, right? So all these different things. How do you kind of keep focused on, man, if that happens, that's great, that's fun, but I got to do this first one first, and you got to do your first one first.
Yeah, I think every person focuses on what they want as benchmark markers for their fight career. You have to make long-term goals in everything that you're trying to achieve, and then you have short-term markers between now and then. So she has hers, we both have ours, and while we're not focusing primarily and only on the end goal, we have to also focus on the ones ahead of us. So do I have goals and do I have ideas of what I thought were going to happen? Very much like what she attested to, that she thinks is going to play out. Yeah, I absolutely think that that's what's going to happen. But Friday night's got to happen first before we can get to Saturday. She's got to finish Saturday goal before we can continue on. And I'll be in attendance on Saturday, so I anticipate that that's what's going to happen.
If everything goes as planned, as you both are planning, have you guys talked in the past, even just casually, about, all right, if this comes to fruition like we say it's going to, we're going to cut off communication with each other for 8 weeks before the fight, or whatever the case may be, and stop being pals and being friendly with each other just until the moment that fight's over? Or do you have any kind of game plan about how you guys will go about it?
In that sense, we haven't talked it out. We've always talked about, since we've been training together, we've been in different jiu-jitsu tournaments together, different potential competitions where we saw that at some point it's going to be you and me. This is how this always goes. So we've faced that, and we're always like, yeah, if it's you and me, we're throwing down harder than anybody else. We lay it all on the line because we know what we're both capable of, and we know how we can push it and put on an entertaining fight. As far as the communications, it doesn't seem like, I can't imagine either of us doing that. We both help each other in every fight camp. The previous fight camp, she needed a vehicle for one of her training partners. I lent her my truck. My wife needed help. I was out of town. She helped deliver hay for us. So we're always there for each other. And I think that if anything, that just attests to what we can offer in this fight, because we're like, oh yeah, we just saw each other next week and we're still gonna punch each other in the face. When we would train together and do Shark Tanks, we were the two that gave us the most, like, hey, I'm sorry, I know you're tired, but I got to do this too. So we knew what it meant, and I don't think that this would be different. I don't think we're going to cut off communication. I think we'll still be able to be friendly and then still be able to put it on as hard as we can together.
But you're probably not going to call her 3 weeks before the fight and say, yeah, man, my practice was rough today. I kind of tweaked my knee a little bit.
I mean,
right?
we still communicate even on that. Like, oh yeah, this is bothering me. I'm like, yeah, this too. Oh, I'm at this point in my weight cut. We still share that, knowing full well we both see that this is the storyline that Bellator's wanted. We're not shying away from that. It's not something that we've ever shied away from ourselves, and we know that. So I don't think this is going to be any different. We're still going to be friends, and we're not going to be like, hey, by the way, I tweaked my back, and we're not going to lay it out and be like, you should definitely go for this. If you go for this submission, I'll be done in the fight. But we're not going to lie to each other and deny, like, oh man, this weight cut sucks. For you too? Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, that's who we are, and that's what we communicate. And we've been doing it this past fight camp. When we arrived, we're like, oh, what's your weight? And I'm like, oh man, this sucked. I've had to do this and this. We're still sharing those things, knowing that in the end we're competitors. We're friends, but we're both have goals for this belt in the same weight class, in the same organization. So at the end of the day, we are still opponents.
Beautiful. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey Liz, I feel like I've been watching you fight the greats since Strike Force, Marlus Kunin. Even before that, you were beating fighters like Valentina Shevchenko. Obviously, this isn't the time to stop and smell the flowers, but I got to imagine, after a certain amount of time, do you ever stop and think about how much Liz Carmouche will actually be in the history books of WMMA across the board?
Yeah, there have been different moments where my friends, their kids be like, hey, did you know that you're in the cultural section of their textbook, or you're in this and this? I was like, no, I had no idea. I'm not sitting there like, hey, make a little marker and get announced every time something like that happens. Or people come up to me, they're like, I don't know if you remember me, but you trained me when I was like 8. I'm like, you're an adult. What is going on? And I'm like, yeah, I feel like you've helped me for this, this, and this. So to see myself, there are moments where I step back, especially, like, in all honesty, when I was trying to explain it to my son. Like my wife was explaining why I train as many hours as I do and why I'm gone first thing in the morning and I'm back late at night, and him trying to figure it out. And he's like, yeah, but really, who is she? And then so we laid it out for him. He's like, well, what are you going to get a real job? I'm like, this is my real job has provided everything we have here. What do you mean my real job? Like a computer job? That's not going to happen, dude. I don't believe in those jobs. So when I sat down and I was explaining everything to him and kind of telling him the evolution of where I've come to, it had that moment where like, holy crap, I've actually done a lot in this sport. and I want to keep doing more. You know, my fight name is the Gorilla, but in some aspects, when I sit down, I look at it, it feels like it should be the history maker, because whenever somebody wants someone to step up to the plate that they know is going to show up and isn't afraid to take that moment, they always call me. I'm that person to headline in venues that have never been open before, that person to be willing to take the risk in being the first one in the UFC and being the first openly out female fighter. There's always these markers where I'm like, yeah, I don't mind taking the heat. And if that comes with sacrificing and losing opportunities, I'll do that. And I want to keep doing that. I still have dreams to keep doing that.
Awesome. Well, staying big picture, mixed martial arts is still relatively new, but you could argue that maybe we have a little bit more of a sample size to work with on the men's side as far as age and mileage and when that looks to, you know, on average drop off. But on the female side, there's still a lot of history to be written, despite, like we just said, fighters like yourself plugging away for so long. So with that in mind, not getting too focused on age or miles, because you sound sharper, you look physically just as good, and your skills only seem to be improving for those of us following your career. So let me just ask, how are you feeling? Because it only looks like you're still getting better after all this time, but how do you feel?
Yeah, I feel good. You know, I feel like I've always been a late bloomer in my life. And I joined the military late, I graduated high school later, I got college later. Everything I've done, I came out significantly later than everybody else. I started MMA career later than everybody else. I'm just a late bloomer in all aspects of my life. And I feel like that's the same to be said of MMA. I started into this so much later than everybody else, and I needed time to catch up to that. I didn't have an amateur career to make mistakes and to kind of iron out things and figure it out. I had to do that in my MMA career. So my early fights, while they were successful, it was still ironing everything out. And now I feel like I've gone past that point and I know who I am, and I've done it in an organization that's helped benefit me to be able to do that. And then, in all honesty, I feel like something that's really helped is a coaching staff that believes in evolution and is open-minded to bringing in any knowledge and information you can, looking at it and seeing how we can utilize it. And then also, honestly, doing stem cells. I go to the CPI Stem Cell Institute in Tijuana, and I feel like that's rejuvenated my body in ways that I can't possibly explain.
Awesome. Well, we'll hope to continue to see through. Last one for me, more relevant to this matchup, obviously. Both of you, I believe, have skills that I both don't believe you ladies get enough credit for as far as skill set goes. But at the same time, we cannot deny that physicality is also a decent part of both of your games. I asked DeAnna earlier, obviously she cites an injury in your first fight, but I asked her how you felt strength-wise before any of that happened. She was obviously complimentary to your strength and skills. So let me ask you the same question. How did DeAnna feel as a fighter that, you know, she likes to get physical too, she's pretty strong, but how did she feel toward you?
You know, the only part that's difficult in answering that is there was such a significant weight difference. She weighed in. Our fight was getting pulled. I had to really lobby to keep the fight. The commission wanted to step in and pull it because she was so far off of weight. And so I can't tell if the strength came from the significant weight difference or if that's how actually strong she is. I won't know until Friday night.
Hey Liz, Kay Williams for Can Chronicles Media. You're on the 5-fight winning streak. What are some of the things that you practice that remain for you to stay rooted and grounded so that you can continue to ascend in the sport of MMA?
So a lot of the things that I attribute that to, for one, is the recovery, doing things like stem cell, doing things like making sure that I do the massage, I do mobility. These are all things that, being a young Marine, fresh out of the Marine Corps and hard-headed, that I was like, I don't need to do any of these things. And then an injury came up, and another injury, and another injury. Now, if I had just taken the time to get the proper rest, do the things that I needed to, and prioritize that this is a long-term goal, and my body has to be healthy to do that. If you keep breaking it down, it can only go for so long. And so when I started to see my body as a machine and treat it like such, I got better results, right? So I prioritize that. I've always prioritized evolution and growth, and constantly wanting to learn new things and be open-minded in the sport, and that keeps me grounded to growth. Is I look to new people, they offer new things, and if they're faster than me, I'm always gunning for whoever's the best in the room, right? So, okay, they're better at takedowns, but they're not good at takedown defense. Well, cool, then I'm going to be better at takedowns than them. They're better at this. I always find that person. My goal is to be better at them and what they're doing.
And also, you defeated DeAnna Bennett roughly 3 years ago due to submission. Are you prepared for any surprises this time around in match 2?
Absolutely. I always prepare for the idea that even if I study an opponent and I haven't seen a lot of growth in their fights, not a lot of evolution, they'll always come out and face me and be a completely different opponent. So do I hope that all the tape that I've studied, all the things we've been implementing is the right way? Yes, of course. But I'm also prepared for the idea that she could come out differently. She could come out just running straight ahead, just try and take me down to the ground and hold me down. She could try and stand and bang in the pocket. Who knows, but I'm prepared for all of it.